Hey, I'm Ramzi, and I founded Upsys, an agency that helps you streamline your work in ClickUp. In today's video, I'll be guiding you through 10 super useful features that most beginners don't know about. I'll explain each feature in depth so that you can quickly learn how to use ClickUp for all your project management needs. Now stay till the end, as the last two are probably the biggest game changers for your productivity. Once you've watched the video, get your ClickUp checklist in the description, and let's get started. The first thing you need to know about, especially if you come from another software, is importing your existing tasks. We're gonna go here on the top right into settings, and we're gonna go to import. And what we're gonna do is click start import. And as you can see, you can import tasks from 9 other softwares straight into ClickUp: Asana, Monday, Trello, Jira, Confluence, Notion, Todoist, Basecamp, and Wrike. But if you're using another software, or if you're using Excel, what you can do is export as a CSV from the other software, or bring in your Excel file. So just click here and click on import, and you can either upload your data or copy and paste it. Just so you know, you can also export your tasks from ClickUp as a batch, and ClickUp will prepare your data and export everything from ClickUp and also from the hierarchy. You can download your export here, or you could also be in a list and click customize, export, and pick your format, your file format, date format, time format, etc., and download your export. You could export your whole workspace or just a space, folder, or list. The next tip we're going to look at is the inbox. And if you click here on the top left, as you can see, there's some notification that appeared. Someone mentioned me and they want me to work on some tasks. If anyone leaves a comment on a task, you're able to see it straight from your inbox. I actually use this feature so much, I find myself almost only using this feature and not going through tasks through my day, because I collaborate with my team and we go back and forth through comments. Here is the first draft, okay, and they attached an image to it. Then I can reply and they'll be able to see this notification in their own inbox. You have to think as inbox as your modern way to tackle tasks. You have your conversation thread here on the left, and you can also have context for the task and see the deadline, see who it's assigned to, see the different custom fields that are related to the tasks, the custom information, and kind of have more context than if you were to discuss on 100 topics during your day in your inbox and be lost between each task to work on. Once you've gone through each of your tasks and replied, or basically acknowledge some information that comes in your inbox, you can clear it one by one by pressing E or ticking this box. And your goal by the end of the day is to empty your inbox and to get done with all your work. If you start collaborating on ClickUp and handling the inbox well, it can be your single place to work from as your team collaborates together. The next step is going to be the search bar. If we click Command K, or if we click here on search, you're able to search pretty much anything, and even in other software. I could search for a Figma design or for a Google Drive file straight from my search bar. I'll open it up, and for example, I want to see tasks that are assigned to me and tasks that are related to the backlog items. I'll just search backlog item. I've put a filter on me and just scroll through these tasks and open them straight from my search bar. You can either see the tasks that you have to collaborate on during your day, or search for an existing task just with the search bar in a few seconds. The next tip is going to be slash commands. And to explain to you how it looks like, I'm going to open up a document here, for example, these meeting minutes, and say I want to format my meeting minutes to reuse them in the future so that they look nice. At first, when you arrive in ClickUp, what you're probably going to do is say, for example, attendees, topics, and next steps. And then you might put some bullet points, put some examples of topics, etc. That's one way to do it. But if you want to bring in a little bit more formatting, make it look a little bit nicer, what you can do is use your slash commands. So you press slash, and instead of having just a normal text for each of the titles, I'm going to use headings. I'm going to click heading 2 and say attendees. And then I'm going to move on and put slash and use second heading for the topics. And then for next steps, for example, is click slash and then pick banners and pick a nice looking banner and call it next steps, so that each time I reuse it, the next steps are going to be highlighted in blue and are going to look a little different from the rest of the text. Click slash on your ClickUp workspace and explore a little bit what you can do with slash commands. You can create tables, banners, checklists, columns, and just so you know, you can also use those in a task description or a comment. I'm actually going to mention a task and I'm going to open up that one. And if I open it up, I can click slash here and use the same commands, or go into the description and use the slash commands. Make sure you explore the slash commands to format your text in ClickUp a little bit nicely, because the hierarchy of information and how it looks can really make your team enjoy the tool more and collaborate easier. ClickUp can start to be a little overwhelming when you have a lot of tasks in it, and when you don't really know what you should be working on. Use me mode to know what you actually have to work on a certain list or at a certain level of the hierarchy. If you click me mode here on the top, it will filter the tasks that you have to work on based on if it has comments, subtasks, checklists that you're mentioned in. Me mode is pretty useful if you go at everything level, because you can see then all the tasks across your whole workspace that you're mentioned in or that you're assigned to. Favorites are a way to kind of put any level of hierarchy or a document or a view somewhere in ClickUp to access it a little bit quicker. If you open up that toggle here, as you can see, I don't have favorites for now. But what I'm going to do is, say I use the Kanban board a lot, right click on it and go into add to favorites, then it will appear here. And the same way I can add, for example, the whole deliveries into my favorites, or I could add this calendar view into my favorites as well. And I'm going to save it. I have these 3 links that I have created that I can even see the whole time when I'm in ClickUp. At any point, I can get back to those favorites that I've picked. I want to access quickly my calendar view, so I'll come here, or I want to access quickly my Kanban board or my delivery space. This way you can get back to a space or folder that you often use and that you want to collaborate on in a few clicks. The same way you can put into favorites your different levels of hierarchy, you can do the same for your tasks, and that's called trays. Say you're working on 2 to 3 topics during your day and you want to keep hold of them. What you can do is tray them. To do so, I'm going to open my task and go in that arrow here on top and click minimize task. It will appear here in the bottom in what's called the tray. The same way I can select this one and tray it as well, and say this one and try it. So these 3 tasks are appearing here. And even if I go somewhere else into ClickUp, navigate it, they will be pinned and they will remain here. If you want to work back on these tasks and collaborate on them, I can just open them in a click and do my work. Mention someone, make them move forward, add some description. I know that these 3 tasks are quite important for me in that moment, and I can trade them. If I'm done working with them, I can just click the cross here and remove them from the tray. The tray works a little bit like favorites. You just pin your tasks and get quick access to them, except that favorites are a little bit more permanent, whereas the tray is kind of for the ongoing tasks. The next tip is going to be the Notepad, and that's a feature not many people know about in ClickUp. Go on the top right, open up your Notepad and create a new note, say meeting notes, and create it. The same way you can use your slash commands, agenda, put your attendees, take your notes. And from that Notepad, you can convert your note to a task. And you will pick the title and the description of the task, and you can choose where to store it here in your location picker. It's a great way to store your work in progress that you need to turn into a task eventually, or you just need to keep hold of, or if you have to create a task, but you're in a rush, you just open up your Notepad, create your note, and you know that's going to be dealt with later. Notepads are not as powerful as a very organized note-taking that you can do in a ClickUp document, for example, but they're kind of a quick tray to create new notes. Next tip is going to be mentions. And you've got a glimpse of it when we introduced the inbox a little bit earlier, but now with mentions, what you can do is not only mention someone, but also mention a task or a document. There are 3 types of mentions you can do, and to do so, you just have to use the @ on your keyboard. If you click @ once, you can mention someone, and if you mention them in a comment, they'll receive it in their inbox. You could also mention a task by leaving 2 @s, And you could also mention a document with 3 ads. So what we can do is mention this document and say, please have a look at the onboarding first. And we could even combine it with a mention to someone and say, please have a look at the onboarding. That's a quick way to link a document if you know its name, and that's much more convenient than going into the document, copying its link, bringing it back here. By using the ad, you can create pretty powerful links between different tasks, or a task and a document, or a document and another document. Because the same way you can use it here, you could also use it in the description or in the document itself. We go here to the bottom, press add, and we can mention someone, mention a task or a document. And what if I mention the task, for example? I'm gonna mention this task called draft initial wireframes. And what's gonna happen here is that I can get a quick link to the task, and that's gonna bring me to the last tip, which is task links. There are 3 types of links you could do between tasks. You could either say it's a linked task, and that's just a way to say topic 1 is linked to topic 2, and you have to look at both. I'll just click here and say the review concepts is linked to the draft initial wireframes. You could also reference a task, and that's what we did. We created some sort of backlink to a task in the other tasks. Planning and setup mentions the draft initial wireframes, and if I open it up, as you can see, it does here in the comment. And if I get back to draft initial wireframes again, it appears in the reference. I prefer using references than links because it's much faster to use the add command than to have to look for a link. And it's kind of easy to connect 2 tasks together with references. But if you want to go even further into task management and dependency management, what you can do is create a blocking or waiting on link between tasks. So you could say draft initial wireframes is blocking another task that has to be done, which is the creation of concepts. And as you can see, it will show up a little blocking sign here, and the create concepts will appear here. And if you click on it, you can see that this task is waiting on the draft initial wireframes. As you can see, you can reference a task, link a task, or create a dependency between tasks. And that wraps up our 10 tips that you need to know when you start off with ClickUp. With these tips, you should definitely ramp up your productivity using the tool. Just remember inbox, mentioning, and the search bar. They're the 3 most important, and they're definitely going to save you time during the day. Have a good one, and see you on the next video.